Shalom, shalom. All praises to Abanawa Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakak Kwadash. Double honors to our apostles, elders, elder bishops of Great Millstone, and a hearty shalom to the prophets of that body, and shalom to the 144,000 and one third that are scattered to the four corners of the earth. Some are in the spiritual realm, some are here physically in this realm, waiting for the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahshai to return. Shalom to you. May peace and blessings be upon your households. Okay, now, through the Spirit, I believe a lot of the hopeful elect are on the same sort of wavelength, if that's a term I can use. You can feel the energy, you can read people, you can read people's spirits, all right? And along with that, Esau, whether it's done by design or it's through the Spirit, I mean, either way, it's all Yahweh Bashem Yahshai, right? A lot of people are trying to go back, to a certain time. They're saying, bring back the 80s, bring back the 90s, bring back the 70s. Let's start dressing like that again. And let's start behaving that way again. But it's not going to come back, because with a certain era comes a certain spirit and an energy. All right. There's a certain mirthy atmosphere. There's a lot going on. Shops and stores are open. It's a very vibrant environment. Those of you that are old enough to remember, those of you that are in your late 50s, mid 50s, even in your late 40s, you can remember the 90s was a different, very different world. Obviously we were younger, and there was a lot more going on. There was a lot more face-to-face interaction, and from my perspective, the women looked way better back then. Just 25, 30 years ago, they looked way better. Overall, it was just a better experience. It's like even the movies right now, you watch these 2025 movies, 2022 movies, they've got all Moism in it, and all this weird, bland atmosphere, and it's spiritual as well, because if you look at the camera, if you watch the movies of the 80s, there was a more of a glossy feel to it, more of a vibrant feel to it. You could watch those movies that were made in the 80s, and it still felt nostalgic. You could watch a movie that was made in the 80s, set in the 50s, and it looked real because the eras were close. Now you watch a movie that's set in the 50s or the 80s, it looks trash. That feel is not there, because we are at the end of the so-called white man's kingdom. And on top of that, this kingdom was built upon everything Jake anyway, When I say Jake, I'm talking about the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, our fashions, our hip talk, all our music, rock and roll, all that doo-wop stuff. That's what made the 50s great. That's what made the 50s romantic. That's why, a lot of men were plowing their women in the back seats of them huge ass American vehicles, because they were designed as mobile bedrooms, to get up the population after the war. Remember after the World War II, right? A lot of people were deleted, so they wanted to get that population up, so those damn near, those beautiful Cadillacs and all those huge American vehicles, you could really deal with a woman in the back seat, man, comfortably. It wasn't a tight feel right now, I know I'm all over the place, but everybody is in this realm of taking it back, bring it back, bring it back. All these montages of the 80s. Like I've been watching some of them, right? Like this one, you got Chevy Chase here, you got the National Lampoon movies, you got other 80s movies and other synth wave and 80s classics and 80s songs. Elder Apostle Gabar is a music guy. He will definitely know this stuff, And look, what's this? What's your best nightlife memory from the 80s? I miss the 80s. I listen to this and feel sad. I want to go back. That's definitely Edomite. I know I will get comments about looking forward, but can't. The sad thing is that at the time in the 80s, you were not aware of how good it was, as you assumed it always like this, always would be like this, and always be like this. How wrong can you be? Today is hate everywhere. Turn TV or internet, there's always some riot or protest, a cost of living, etc. People want to bury their heads in the sand. I just want to get on my BMX, go for a ride all day and explore and not return home until sunset and smell the nighttime air. Yeah, I remember that. The nighttime air, The summer times are long, boy. Those 6, 7 weeks we had off during the UK in the UK during summertime, the 80s, they were long, long days. You'd leave in the morning, 9 o'clock, and you won't be back till 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night. Then your mom be in the kitchen, she'd be wearing an apron, and she'd open the door, and then food be on the table, and it'd always be something nice, man. I remember that. The nighttime air set, then watch TV from the little channels we had, then go to bed and wake up and repeat. Sorry if I bored you reading this, but just miss the 80s. I hate the present, not looking forward to the future. I just want to go back to the 80s and take it all in again. I know this is not possible, and that's why I'm sad. Surely I am not the only one. Let's see what more. Right, I'm off to build us all a time machine. One-way ticket only. Who's with me? People in the 80s. The future will be amazing. People today, take me back to the 80s. The best decade in the history of the world. They told us back in the 80s that the future was going to be great. Not so great at all. I want to go back. Look at this. All right. Well, you can't go back. All right. Okay. You Jakes out there, those of you who are not in the truth, as paraphrasing the scripture, the election have obtained it. The election have obtained it. The rest were blinded. King James Version. Romans 11:7. For you Jakes out there, that are feeling in the same, that are trying to jump in that boat with Esau and the other nations. This is their last hoorah. The so-called white man. This is their last bit of so-called fun. They can reminisce of the like older Edomites. Remember that video of the old Edomite with his war medals and all that? He must have been like damn near 100 years old. He's one of them Edomites that were, and he was crying, saying that his children and his children's children won't be able to enjoy life like he did. Because these Edomites had everything, man. They had the home loans, they had the feeling the feeling of feeling superior to so-called black people, And if they did something nice for a so-called black person, like giving him 50 cents or something, they said, "Oh, I helped that Negro out." They were the same ones that were at these lynchings. When Jake was being lynched and torn to pieces by dogs and burnt and chopped up into pieces and all that. They were the same ones there, these same devils. Now their kingdom is over. Now their children are feeling the heat. Okay, Jake's been feeling the heat, but no one was listening. All right, but Yahweh Bashim Hashai was listening to us. Okay, to the elect. But Jake's been going through hell. All right, but they persevered. Now the so-called white man's feeling the heat. Now these so-called white people want Jake, the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, to help them. Like that cracker was saying, "Oh, black people have to help us. Or we know what we did to you, but you got to help us." Remember that cracker with the long beard? What did he say? Help us. America hasn't treated you well, but black people save us. You got to be out your fucking mind. And some of you Jakes saying, "Oh, let's help the white man." You Jakes make me sick that want to help the so-called white man. Okay? The election, right? The elect know that we have got better days coming. We don't want to stay here in this fucking hell. All right, fair enough. We're older, or we like older shit. I like older stuff too, guaranteed, because that's what that's where my mind goes. To better times in this hell, because this era now is whack. But when I think about the better times, when I was younger, I equate them to the kingdom, how it's going to be better forever. Okay, I think about the kingdom of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. All right, so you unelect, you 2/3, that want to be in the same boat as a so-called white man, you can stay with them, and the heathens, you can stay with them. I want to go back. There ain't no fucking Back to the Future. Ain't no Marty McFly. Ain't no Dr. Emmett Brown. Right? There ain't no time machine. There's no flux capacitor. You can't go back in time. You can't change things. It's not possible. All right? Time is moving forward. This kingdom was not meant to be slow. This kingdom was not meant to be halted. This kingdom was not meant to be paused. All right? The only kingdom that's going to be going very slow, time is not going to be a factor, is the kingdom of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, which is the kingdom of heaven, which will be on planet Earth. Pursuant to Matthew 6:9. As it's done in heaven, be done on earth. Paraphrasing scripture there, right? So we're going to have the kingdom of heaven on earth. Romans 11:7 again. What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. You individuals, you Jakes out there, you 2/3 cannot see that, You cannot see a so-called black man coming from the heavens. You're like Polite used to say. What did he say? Your sky daddy's gonna cut the heavens open. What did that monkey say? Now where's Polite now? He's under the jail. You know, under the jail. And people like Polite had no excuse. The Lord even blessed him, even though he's a heathenistic practices. The Lord blessed him with beautiful wives. He had some nice looking wives, very nice looking wives. All right, all Southern Kingdom, but they were very attractive. Now look at but he had no excuse messing with a child, man. But nevertheless, that's his lot. Now he can be deleted in prison as well. All right. Now let's go to a couple more of the scriptures here. Not in certain order. Uh, 2nd Ezra 6 verse 9. For Esau, who is a so-called white man, is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Okay. The world abideth forever. Okay, the world is not going to be destroyed. We have our rulership coming. All right, and that's the rulership of Yahweh Bashem Yahashai. The world's not going to blow up. All right, where they're going to go in another, in you got to go into the deep blue sea to find a home or something, or Esau's going to make some kind of Elysium. That's not going to happen. They can dream that, but that's not going to happen. All right, this place is going to be refreshed. Okay, there's going to I believe the refresh means kainos in Greek, means refreshed in English, right? It's going to be refreshed. Okay, like you have like a sandcastle, right? And it's been there for a while, and then you knock the sandcastle down, and then you do a total rebuild. That's how it's going to be the so-called white man's kingdom. But our kingdom is going to be way more grandeur, way more beautiful, and it's going to be forever. Okay, and there's not going to be a clock monitoring things. Oh, it's 6:05 in the morning or whatever. Only the Lord knows how it's going to be in the kingdom, but the time is going to be very, 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 very slow. And guess what? That kingdom, our kingdom, is never going to end. It's not going to be like, oh, we're going to rule for 1,000 years and then another heathen's going to rule over us. Never. This is the last heathen rulership. Okay, pursuant to the book of Daniel, we are at the feet of that statue. All right, the head was the gold. Now we are at the concrete feet. All right, and look at that's the concrete feet alludes to the concrete roads and the concrete fucking pavements that we walk on, hurting our backs every day. This concrete kingdom is over. All right, okay, and you two-third ninjas that want to stay with Esau, that want to help Esau, that want to be pally with Esau, and you Israelite women that don't know you're Israelites that are married to these honkies and crackers, you're gonna get it too. All right, not unless the Lord, has paired you so-called one of you so-called black, Hispanic, or Native Indian women up with a so-called white guy that looks like a cracker, but he's actually a Jake. Then you'll probably be okay if it's the Lord's will. All right. 2nd Ezra 6 verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. All right. You should thank thank Yahweh Bashem Yashai that you're an Israelite. I thank Yahweh Bashem Yashai, man. I didn't know what an Israelite was. I didn't know what that even meant. I never grew up with a Bible, but I understand it now. And Barakti Yahweh Bahashim Yahshai Bahashim Akakwadash. And I'm going to quote Apostle Tahar. Apostle Tahar said, he goes, I wouldn't want to be Edomite for all the tea in China. When he said that, sometimes when the apostles teach, bro, you watch them and you're learning and you have a laugh with them, man. You think, man, they what a beautiful spirit Barakti Yahweh Bahashim Yahshai has, the Lord has put on our elders, man, and they teach us, and we get a little bit of amusement out of it in terms of how the elders get down, as Elder Apostle Tar says, he goes, how we do. And it's just, they've got a beautiful spirit on them, man, So, Psalm 75 and 7, but the Most High is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. Okay? And who the Lord's going to set up right now? Us Israelites. We are going to be set up. We've got our kingdom coming forever. We see the curses pursuant to Deuteronomy 30 verse 7 coming on these Edomites. They're slowly transferring over to them, slowly but surely. It's starting from the lower level crackers, the crackers that we work with or we work alongside with. They're feeling the heat. They're feeling the heat. They're having issues. They're coming across roadblock after roadblock in their life. The same shit that Jake been dealing with. And this is going to go on all the way up until they've got chains around their neck and they're in slavery for 1,000 fucking years. And we're going to put hell on them. All right. We're going to put hell on them. Okay. Psalm 75:7. But the Most High is the judge. Okay. But the Most High, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. All right. Yeah. Ecclesiastes 7:8. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. Okay. In this earthly realm, in this hell that we're in, okay, because we're not meant to be comfortable here. This is the reason why you Jakes are feeling tired all the time. It feels like you're doing something back to back. It's like you're at school with a timetable. You got math, science, English, then you got physical education, then you have lunch, then you bang, bum, 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 bum. You're constantly busy. You're constantly busy. But the Lord Yahweh Shemashah blesses you with the spirit to squeeze out, your videos and the Lord gives you time to do prayers. You're constantly busy. Why? Because we are approaching the end and it's coming in quick and fast and thick. All right. And this kingdom is going to end. All right. These scriptures apply mainly for this side because, there's a time factor to the hell that we're in. All right. And we're not meant to be comfortable here on this side. We're meant to serve our punishment. And then we get the goodies. Then we get the prizes. Then we get, and not a consolation prize in any shape or form. Then we get the kingdom. All right, Lord willing. Ecclesiastes 7:8. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. All right. Ecclesiastes 3:2. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. The Lord Yahweh Shemeshai is plucking up this kingdom. All right. Like a house of cards, plucking it out piece by piece. Let's go 7 and 8 again. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient spirit is better than the proud in spirit. So the Lord is just pulling this place apart piece by piece. People can reminisce. People can think about how the past was. Obviously, the so-called white man's going to think about the moments of pleasure he's had. All right. Okay. But when things get a little bit more heavier on these damn devils, right? Then they're going to really feel it, because that moment of glory is going to be forgotten when all hell starts coming on these devils, man. Isaiah 65, Isaiah 65:17. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. Okay. Just read it. Just read this. Isaiah 65:17. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come into mind. When I read that, you know what I think about? I think about the Lord sitting in the heavens, man, and I see, you can see all the different planets behind him, and he's just sitting there with a smile on his face, looking regal and amazing, and you can think about how the Lord is just creating these beautiful places, man. How the world is going to be. I mean, even in this hell, we look at Miami in the 80s, we look at Miami in the 70s, you look at California in the 50s, you see the beautiful women, the water, the beautiful cars. You think, look at this Esau's whack kingdom. Look what Esau had. How much more? You see these Ishmaelites with their mansions and palaces and playing with their pets. You look at that, you think, these devils are, they've got nothing. Our kingdom's going to be amazing, man. Amazing. Happiness forever. We're going to be praising Yahweh Shemashai forever. We're going to have the laws in us. We're not going to make a mistake. Satan ain't going to be fucking with us. We're not going to have no ailments. We're going to all look good. We're all going to be different, diverse, different shades of brown and, different hair textures. And we're going to be all beautiful, man. The Jakes are going to look sharp and our women and even our concubines are going to look better than a mofo. We're going to, man, come on, man. Just think about it. You're going to be tall, swole, spiritual power. I think it's great to sacrifice on this side, man, to attain what we know, Lord willing, if you're part of that number, to attain what the Yahweh Shemeshai is going to give you. Isaiah 65:17. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come into mind. All right. scripture's coming to my mind. That wait for him. Yeah. I'm going to paraphrase it, obviously, so the scripture comes up, and sometimes the key words just bring it up. What was it again? That wait for him, King James Version. No, that's not the one. The Lord has. Is it this one? That's a good one as well. I'm just going to use just okay. The Lord will bring gifts for those that wait for him. King James Version. I think that's the one, man. I think it's 1 Corinthians 1:7, possibly. 1 Corinthians 1:7. 1 Corinthians 1:7, King James Version. No, I think that's not. Salakia for this, I'm not the best scripture guy, I try because scriptures come in my mind. I know what they mean, but I can't get the right words out. Basically paraphrasing, it's the Lord is gonna, give you gifts. There's so many things the Lord's gonna give to you for those that wait for Him. Let's just read this one, Isaiah 30:18. This is still good. And therefore will the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yashai wait, that he may be gracious unto you, and therefore will he be exalted, that he may have mercy upon you. For the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yashai is a power of judgment. Blessed are all they that wait for him. And who are those the all and the blessed that wait for him? Okay, they're the elect. All right. So we have a lot to look forward to, man. A lot to look forward to. All right. We're not going to be in these going in circles just to this, this nostalgia or whatever people are trying to get back. They're not going to get back. You're not going to get the 90s back. You're not going to get the 80s back. You can dress like it. You can act like it. You can use a talk from that era. You can watch all the shows. That's why a lot of people don't come outside the house no more. A lot of people finish work or whatever, and they go home and they probably sit in their man cave or whatever, big ass screen TV, watching 80s shows and shit and getting high. That's what they probably do. Reminiscing of the past, watching old movies, and when they could, it's not coming back. All right. And for you Israelites that think the same way, you're crazy. Okay. We got a lot to look forward to. All right. Got a lot to look forward to. All right. And Barakati Yahweh Bashim Yashai for this truth, man. Barakati Yahweh Bashim Yashai for this truth. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there now. All right. You can't bring it back, Esau. Your time is done. All praises to Yahweh Bashim Yashai Bashim Rakak Shalom. Mawatha Badu Ba Kwame Shalom.